Let's get right into it. I think I had the Q word had just left my mouth on the pre-show, and then they just started the show. Oh my God, Quake is back.
Quake is back.
Quake.
All right.
It looks awesome.
Quake Champions. That's what they're calling it.
Yeah.
For like a hot second, I was real worried they made a Quake MOBA. That champion word's got like a bunch of weight on it.
Yeah.
But yeah, what they showed off what was, I guess, a pre-rendered cutscene situation, which showed off. It was really weird because they had like a bunch of characters that looked like they had like a Strogg-looking dude who looked like he was out of Quake 2. They had a sort of futuristic version of what looked like Sarge, who was like the main character in Quake 3, main skin. But they didn't really show off all that much. It was just kind of a bunch of different. What it looked like was kind of like different characters with unique abilities, which is not what Quake was about. But who knows? Tomorrow, what did you think it is?
I think it looks. I thought it was really interesting. Like it's taking what we expect from a classic Quake type game and trying to introduce more modern conventions. You know, modern shooters are all about unique, defined,
like class-based or whatever. Yeah,
almost class-based. Like people have they tend to shy away from calling it class-based now. They instead say like ability-based, or they build characters with unique styles and kind of let people just play to those classes without using a boring buzzword like class-based.
And like what we're looking at here is you can see what looks like a lightning gun. I mean, that's straight up a Quake rocket launcher. There's that green one kind of looks like a railgun shot, even though it's maybe a bit on the fat side. Yeah, I am now just wanting to go to QuakeCon. Because they said, yo, we're making a new Quake game. We'll show it off at QuakeCon because it's called QuakeCon, and we haven't shown a Quake there for a while. Yeah, what do you think, Mike?
Yeah, it looks awesome. I mean, like, just the fast-paced gameplay. Like, I mean, Doom, like, kind of, you've been talking about Doom a lot lately, and Doom's single player was great, but also Doom's multiplayer leaves me wanting more. Yeah. And this seems like that could fill the gap. Like,
it totally makes sense now.
Yeah.
Why they didn't do an arena shooter in Doom.
Yeah.
Because they're like straight up doing it here.
Straight up doing Quake, yeah.
I guess. Yeah, really interesting, like different abilities there. There was sort of like a weird blink mechanic. One of them had almost like, I mean, it's funny, right? Everything we talk about now is Overwatch. That's like the touchstone we have.
Framework now.
Right? So like Widowmaker's like, wall hacking basically. There was a character who had something like that there. I mean, there was pickups as well. There was somebody picking up something that looked a little bit like quad damage. So
yeah, I think the interesting thing there was like they said two things that kind of caught my attention. One was it's going to run at 120 hertz with uncapped frame rates.
Yeah,
which means you can play till your eyes bleed and whatever. The other thing is said like they specifically name checked like new people.
Yes, they
like
did.
Making it like easy to get into.
Yeah.
Overcomplicating it.
It worried me a bit.
Yeah, which is kind of like, what does that mean? I mean, on the one hand, a first-person shooter multiplayer experience in the style of a classic Quake game is simple enough for the newcomer to take care of. Like it's way harder to get in to a modern Call of Duty than it is to
like Quake 1 or 2.
Classic, exactly.
Totally, even
learn
Quake
that
3
stuff within 5 to 10 minutes.
For sure.
But on the other hand, it could mean that they're trying to really like simplify it in a way that's different, because they are introducing abilities and stuff like that.
Yeah, well, it looks like it anyway.
Yeah. So
I just want to watch this trailer over and over again and like break it down, figure out who's who and what's what, because there's so much like that guy looks a little bit like Sarge to me. We'll see. This guy looks like a Strogg. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. Well, I guess we'll find out soon enough, or QuakeCon later this year, some more about it. The final piece about this, tomorrow you said Saber Interactive were working on this?
Yeah, it looks like Saber Interactive, who developed Time Shift and have since done the Halo Anniversary Edition.
Yes.
Are working on this game in some capacity alongside id Software, which, I mean, Saber have done good work in the past, Time Shift notwithstanding.
Well, Halo Master Chief Collection's online connectability notwithstanding.
Yeah, but in terms of like creating first-person shooter experiences, they're pretty good at putting that stuff together. As long as id Software can fill in the cracks, which they tend to kind of leave around, it should be a good experience.
Yeah.
But it also means, because it is Saber Interactive with id Software, it means Battlecry Studios doesn't appear at all, which means
nothing from Battlecry Studios at all today.
Who knows whether they exist anymore?
Yeah.
We thought maybe they could be contributing to another project. Maybe they're doing that on other stuff quietly, but there was no mention of Battlecry Studios at all, or Battlecry the game, which means it might have quietly just been.
We'll have to see.
Yeah.
It's got this real deep Quake lore. That guy kind of looked like Anarchy, who is the guy who goes around on a hoverboard in Quake 3.
All right.
He kind of looked like Anarchy a bit. Maybe that's Anarchy. All right. Quake.
And then that was like the perfect cold open.
Right?
It was the text, and then it was just Quake. Boom.
Boom.
Trailer.
Yeah, I saw that rocket launcher and I was like, no.
Perfect.
Fucking. All right.
Bethesda did it again.